entered my first boardroom. And this meeting was scheduled for an hour. And about 10 minutes in, we were done talking about business. After 10 minutes, the conversation went something like this. Did you guys watch the match last night? How beautiful was Manchester United's score? And I sat there like, great. And the entire hour went on about football, cricket, Aussie rules football, and so forth. Multiple meetings after that was the same repetition, same conversation. And I would sit there on my chair, twiddling my thumbs and going, so great, shaking my head and awkwardly smiling when I could not contribute. You see, what I realized was that a lot of business conversations actually happen outside of business conversations. The fact that business actually happens before business talk and after business talk. Now, this is something I'd like you to imagine. Imagine a group of people sitting and talking about sports. Please imagine, take a second. I am sure all of you imagined men, did you not? And if you say no, are you sure? Are you sure you didn't imagine a bunch of men just sitting there talking about sports? So what I realized was, if I am to step up in my career, climb that corporate ladder and make a name for myself, I will have to reignite my love for football. Go Arsenal. Any Arsenal fans here? See, I knew that would get an applause. Right, audience? I love cars, so that was easy. Technology, money, finance was something I'd have to learn to be comfortable talking about. So I'd go home after my work, 9 to 5 shift done. I'd go home and I'd sit and watch. I was working in Australia at that time, Aussie rules football. So I could be part of the boys' club, or so they would call it. So people would think they can talk to me about anything. And that is one of the reasons why I'm standing here today. But let me explain. Namaste, my name is Pranayna KC. I've been a working professional for 13 years, and for the past 6 years, I've held C-level positions in countries like India and Nepal. Today, I'm standing here to talk to you about women in leadership. But before I go there, this is something that I thought about, and I thought I would apologize to you. I wanted to apologize for speaking to you in English. This is TEDx Nepal, Tha. I'm very clear about that. Every time I've introduced myself, I've said namaste or hello, my name is Pranayana and I'm from Nepal. As a Nepali cheli who's lived abroad most of my adult life, my introduction has always been Pranayana and I'm from Nepal. Ani आज मैले धेरै सोचे नेपालीमा बोलूं कि इङ्ग्लिशमा बोलूं, but I thought about this very deeply, and the main reason why I'm speaking to you in English is this. Last year in 2023, 800,000 young Nepali people left this country with global dreams on their shoulders. And this year, as a pani roomma, how many of you, you'd probably say Nepal is not aspirational to you anymore, right? Majority of you will say, घरबाट pressure आउँछ कि तपाईहरु नै you'll want to pursue your global dreams. UK, Australia, the list is endless. So I thought I will want to borrow some of your ears and also the Nepali diaspora of all these people who no longer think Nepal is aspirational. So if you're carrying global dreams, hear this from someone who has actually lived, to some extent, this global dream. त्यसैले पनि आज I'm speaking to you in English, but I would like to apologize for that because I really wanted to do this in Nepali, but I thought if all of you are aspiring to these global dreams, I might as well speak to you in the most common language spoken in other countries. So women in leadership. So if you think about sustainable development goals, diversity and inclusion, corporate sector ko CSR ma, ya any of these, or even INGOs, majority of the goal is all about equality, gender equality, how we want to see more women seated at the table, these board tables. Let me get into statistics just a little bit. 30% of C-level or senior leadership roles around the world are held by women. Great, 30% is not a bad number at all. Nepalma pani constitution ma, they've mandated 33% representation, which is a great start. But what I'm here to talk to you about is not statistics, because there's very little, I'm not saying nothing at all, but there's very little you and I can do about these policies or these statistics. But I am here to talk to you about something very simple that you can actually do. I cannot stand here or I cannot have this conversation with you about equality, representation, or empowerment if we do not start from homes. Company-ma equality ल्याउने या seating more women at the table is never going to be enough. And that is why I started my story with my first corporate meeting experience. You see, if you think about home, I'm a Nepali Cheli. That is important to establish here. And since I've come back to Nepal, I think the realization is a lot more stark. Whether it be my cousins, my friends, or even my team members, daughters are still different from sons, aren't we? The daughters still hold a lot more responsibility than sons do. So to all these wonderful men sitting in front of me and who might listen to me digitally, I speak to you as well. We can give women a seat at the table, but will they really be a part of your conversation if you do not involve them in conversation about money, finance? If you say, तिमलाई चाहिने कुरा हैन, तँलाई चाहिने कुरा हैन, केटीहरुलाई चाहिने कुरा हैन, if during Dasai all these men are sitting and talking about news, sports, finance, and women are in the kitchen, girls are in the kitchen, if the daughters, छोरीहरु, if the daughter-in-laws, बुहारीहरु, are still picking up the plates and not engaging in conversation, are still spending more time in the kitchen than men do, will we ever actually be able to compete on the table or be a part of the conversation? Do you think that will be possible? Because we might be sitting there, but most women will have the same experience that I did, twiddling our thumbs and going, great, Manchester United, great team, and we'll have nothing to say to that. But I'm not saying involve us in sports. What I'm saying is, the reason I stand here today is because, and I've been doing this for over a decade, the only reason is that when I was young, my parents sat me on the table too. They had conversations with me. My parents would look at me and say, do you know what's happening on the news? Are you up to date? Are you reading? Are you learning constantly, not just what you're learning in school? And because of that, I realized that when I went to work, I did not carry my home with me. The reason women do not get seated at the table so much is not because we are not competent, but think about it. Saनो हुँदादेखि, if we have been treated differently, and I'm not talking about equality by staying out late at night, I'm talking about equality during the day. If men and boys, brothers, husbands, fathers, you do not share your freedom with us, when you go out and hang out with your friends, I'm sure your sisters are at home cooking if your mom is sick, or due to some other reason. It will still be the daughter who will take the responsibility of cooking and cleaning and doing the dishes. So if men, you do not share your freedom, will we ever be able to invest in ourselves and be engaged in conversation? If men, you do not share our responsibilities, even after becoming a mother. And by the way, I'm not Mrs. That was how I was introduced. But once you do get married, the responsibility that you carry, not just as a daughter, but also a daughter-in-law, the responsibility that you carry after you give birth to your child and your body has completely changed. Do you think we'll ever be fully present at workplace if we're constantly worried about the responsibilities that we carry on our shoulders? So this is to the men here. When we talk about women in leadership, we need CEO, female CEOs, not enough. How will we ever compete in the boys' club if we haven't started from home? How will we ever be able to converse and feel like we're competent enough if you don't make us feel like we are? How often are women in your houses involved in conversations about money, finances, investment? We stand here and we go to work and we talk about equality, but this has to start from your home. As a brother, again, as a husband, as a father, you will have to start sharing your freedom and also our responsibilities. That is the only way that women will be able to sit at the table and also be able to progress their career forward. I'm an entrepreneur today. My company is called Hivlaya, and I came back to Nepal with one dream. After having worked here for a certain amount of time, I wanted to transform the professional landscape of Nepal and make learning accessible. And of course, I have women on my mind, also being a woman myself, and I'm the fourth daughter in my family. So I see that perspective a lot. But as I do that, it's impossible to transform the professional landscape if 50% of the population is not involved. So I urge all of you to start talking about equality and empowerment from home, from where you are, from the power you hold, by being able to share. And Hivela can only do so much. Companies like Hivela, there's so many other companies like ours. If you are to expect women to be competent, make them feel so at home so they don't have to carry the responsibilities to their work. By saying that, I hope someday, if I stand on any of these stages again, I no longer have to talk about women in leadership, and all I will do is talk about leadership because that is where I have experience. By saying that, thank you so much for having me.